We actually have the Warlock up next. The Warlock is pretty unique. It does start as well with getting its subclass, just like the Sorcerer and Cleric. Off the rip, you can get access to a few different cantrips. Eldritch Blast is the bread and butter for all Warlocks. And the cool thing is, you actually get access to the new cantrips, at least a couple of them. You get Toll the Dead, you can get access to, and Booming Blade. Both very good options. I'm going to go Booming Blade on this guy. Hexblade is the new subclass in patch 8. Hexblade Warlock. So freaking good, man. You start out with a bind hexed weapon. Bind to your main hand weapon. Its damage becomes magical automatically. At level 1, its damage becomes magical. You cannot drop or throw it, and you become proficient with it if you weren't already. So you automatically become proficient with any weapon you're not proficient with. When you attack with this weapon, there is a chance that Hexblade's curse will be applied to the target automatically. That is huge. You can only have one Pact weapon at any time, and instead of strength or dex, it uses your charisma modifier. So you don't even need to go to a strength build or a dex build specifically, with the exception of wanting to get a better AC. And this weapon returns to its previous state if you're more than 5 feet away from it for more than 10 rounds. So if they make you disarm it and then they throw it, I'm not sure how anyone does that, but if they do, then you'll have to rebind it. But Hexblade's curse is so good. Curse a target. Your damage rolls against the target gain a bonus equal to your proficiency bonus, so it scales with you. The number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking the target is also reduced by 1. So instead of a nat 20, you need a 19. And there are builds where you can actually get better criticals than that. So you can get an 18. There are items that help with that. You can get a 17. You could pretty much crit 30% of the time. If the target dies, you gain 4 hit points, and it lasts 10 turns. And down the road, you might be able to swap the target after it dies, like Hunter's Mark. Ooh. And the cool thing about this is the class action, so you don't have any concentration on this like you would with Hunter's Mark. Which is kind of a cool thing to see. You get access to a couple spells at the beginning, and then Hex Warrior. Gain proficiency with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. And the spells you get access to are very good. Shield is almost a guarantee to go to. Hex is really good. You can hex people and then Hexblade curse them as well, so you can deal additional damage that way. And then I like Wrathful Smite, very solid, because you can frighten the target. It will get disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. Hellish Rebuke, super, super good. Armor of Agathis is definitely a good one to have down the road too, because it'll scale. But yeah, let's get to the nitty gritty here and see what else the Hexblade has to offer. I love these generations, these random generators. Like, what kind of hair is this? What is this blue? Is it silver? I don't know what it is. So big thing you guys want to do here before you enter battle is making sure your binded hexed weapon happens, because you can't do it while you're in battle. It just binds to whatever weapon you already are using, and you go from there. All right, Warlock level 2, the Hexblade Warlock, baby. One thing I did not mention in the first part of the level was actually the Shield and Wrathful Smite are an expanded spell list option unique to the Hexblade that a Warlock doesn't typically get. Most Warlocks tend to be range spellcasters of some sort. So the Hexblade being the patron of this particular Warlock means you're kind of going to be up in the nitty gritty. I know, like, the Fiend patron that Will is, spoilers, sorry, he tends to also be up front, but the Hexblade is just a different animal, I feel like, comparatively. All right, with the Warlock level 2, your health's going to increase, you get a Warlock spell slot gained, 2 passives that are going to be your Eldritch Invocations, and 2 new spells. All right, Eldritch Invocations are the name of the Warlock game. Every Warlock gets access to Eldritch Invocations, right? So in your study of the occult lore, about said Ulcate, that's wrong, you have unearthed Eldritch Invocations, fragments of forbidden knowledge that imbue you with an abiding magical prowess. Agonizing Blast, Eldritch Blast, you can add your Charisma modifier to this, to the damage, so you don't typically get to add extra damage to cantrips. So doing that to your Eldritch Blast is a huge benefit, especially if you need to be ranged for some reason, like there's an area of effect or some kind of trap you're putting up, something like that. I like that one a lot. Armor of Shadows, very nice if you're going to be dumping dex or something like that too, or you're just want to be a dex build where you don't want to put armor on. You can have mage armor on without expending spell slot. Beast Speech gives you speak with animals without expending a spell slot. Super nice, especially if you're going for that frontline charisma build. Beguiling Influence, you invoke your patron's bewitching charm and gain proficiency in deception and persuasion. Devil's Sight, super, super good. You can see in magical and non-magical darkness up to 80 feet. It kind of works like that shadow magic sorcerer's specific use of darkness they can do, but this gets done for any darkness. So this is actually probably a good use with that to create a Sorlock, a Hexblade Shadow Magic Sorlock, where you can see inside of the darkness, and then you can attack with advantage, for free, because everything else is blinded, except for in one part of the entire game. No spoilers. Fiendish Vigor, you gain false life on yourself at will as a level 1 spell slot without expending the spell slot. So you get 7 temporary hit points at any time, which is kind of nice, but I think it kind of falls off pretty quick. Mask of Many Faces, you can cast Disguise Self at will without expending a spell slot. If you have that helmet that came with the pre-order bonus or the deluxe edition, you don't need this one. You can just use that helmet, and it's cool. One with Shadows, you learn how to cast One with Shadows. What's One with Shadows, you might ask? Vanish into the darkness and become invisible, as long as you stand still. I mean, cool. Repelling Blast. When you hit a creature with Eldritch Blast, you can push the creature up to 15 feet away. Yeet dudes off of cliffs. Super good. Very nice to have, I will admit. And finally, Thief of 5 Fates. Once per long rest, you can cast Bane using a Warlock spell slot. Bane targets up to 3 creatures. They receive a d4 penalty to attack rolls and saving throws. Opposite of Bless, Bane, but very good, with the exception of having to use a Warlock spell slot. Those scale pretty quickly to be pretty strong for stronger spells. I think that's kind of a bad usage, I'll be honest, of an Eldritch Invocation. And you can have other folks in your party, unless you're doing a solo campaign. You can have other folks in your party that have Bane if you really want it. Alright, Warlock level 3, health increase. You improve your Warlock spells. They now go up to the next level, which I believe is level 2, automatically. You don't get a ton of spell slots as a Warlock, but they improve quickly. You gain a new passive, which is your Pact boon, and then you get a new spell. New spell. I mean, we got Devil's Sight. We're going to pick up Darkness at this point. Alright, Pact boon. This is kind of like your subclass's subclass, which is kind of weird, because all Warlocks get access to these 3 Pact boons, but the main differences in your subclass is really who your patron is. So you can have Archfey, a Fiend. In this case, we're doing the Hexblade. To be honest, the Hexblade, you don't need Pact of the Blade. Pact of the Blade is good for all the other ones. You don't need that because you are a Hex Warrior. You already have that. So you can summon a Pact weapon or bind the one you're wielding, making it magical. Well, if you already have Hexblade bind done, this is useless. It's literally double dipping, and even says Hexblade Warlocks who already have bind Hex weapon do not gain this bind. You can summon it, cool, that's fine, but who cares at that point, right? So at this point, you want to either grab Pact of the Tome or Pact of the Chain if you're cool with a familiar, something like a Quasit or an Imp, super fun, very different. Or Pact of the Tome, where your patron grants you a grimoire called the Book of Shadows, which allows you to cast Guidance, Vicious Mockery, and Thorn Whip. Those are 3 decent cantrips. Guidance is a huge one, actually. I will say, having that for yourself for free is very nice. Vicious Mockery and Thorn Whip, Eldritch Blast is going to be your bread and butter. Booming Blade will also be useful for you. So those 2 likely won't be a big thing unless you have somebody you want to Thorn Whip to you to bring close. We're going to take it, but I think Pact of the Chain will be a fun one to do as well. Especially because you can have those little familiars go out and scout for you if you're okay with taking the game a little slower. You have them go scout the areas for you, see if there's any monsters or something that's going to kill you, and then come back. Or they die, and then you resummon them. I wonder if those guys remember every time they die. Oof, I hope not. Warlock level 4! We get feet! We love feet. New feat, health increased, a new cantrip, new spell. Man, we have so many cantrips at this point. I'm just thinking about that. With Book of the Tome, you have 3, you get 2 off the beginning. And then now you get another one. There's so many options. Toll the Dead. Why not? Friends. Great one as long as you're not playing on Tactician or Honor mode. Found that out. In higher difficulty modes, the target might accuse you of enchanting them. That's something they don't tell you or didn't tell you until this patch or the last patch. That was new, and I may have had something happen in the grove after charming someone named Kaga. Don't do that. And then some really good spells you can get here too. You actually get expanded spell lists, so we have access to Blur, which is not normal for warlocks, and then Branding Smite as well. It does radiant damage and prevents invisible. Super, super good. I think that is it for this level. Shadowblade, sorry. Shadowblade also is a new one, I do believe. Weave a shadowy short sword in your hand that deals 2 to 16, 2d8 psychic damage. When you use the sword to attack a target that is in dim light or darkness, you make the attack roll with advantage. Darkness, Shadowblade, perfect combo. The Shadowblade can be unequipped and equipped again, but must remain on the spellcaster's person. I'm curious, actually. We're going to be curioso about something here. All right, let's get bi-curious here. We're going to throw out some darkness. Actually, we're going to pull up some darkness. Okay, we can see. She's blinded. We don't care about that, right? Shadowblade. It is equipped right now. Can we bind that weapon? Yes, we can. You can bind your Shadowblade. Oh, which gives you advantage on attack rolls automatically when things... Oh, and it does more damage. 2d8. Dude, what a combo I didn't think about existing. You throw a Hexblade Curse on them too for funsies, and then you attack them in the face with your psychic damage. Oh my god. That will be absolutely disgusting. I'm in love. Oh, I'm in love with that right there. And that lasts until long rest. It takes one of your spell slots, sure, but I mean that combo, yes, it's like, oh man, you're out of spell slots, aren't you? That sucks. Oh man, I wish I had spell slots. And that's why we do short rest, guys. And that's why we do short rest. We get our spell slots back on short rest. So realistically, you have 2, 4, 6 roughly uses of your spell slots a day. And if you're doing something like that, where you're throwing darkness around, or you have scrolls of darkness, it's just going to be absolutely epic. All right, level 5 Hexblade Warlock. Health increase to start things out, and then a deepened Pact. Pleased with your service, your otherworldly patron added new boons to the terms of your pact. Blade Pact holders gain an extra attack with their Pact weapon. The Pact of the Chains Familiar also gains an extra attack. Pact of the Tome Warlocks can cast Animate Dead. Haste, Call Lightning, once per long rest. Automatically have some extra access to pretty awesome spells, to be honest with you, that are all once per long rest. So you can do so many spells once per long rest now. Those are free. They don't cost spell slots. This is wonderful. I will say the Pact of the Chains Familiar getting extra attack is also kind of nice. You get extra Eldritch Invocation here and a new spell. All right, your new spells for level 5, your expanded spell list include Elemental Weapon, which we found out was a new spell. Previously, I think we were doing Paladin. We see that where you get extra bonuses to damage. Add that to your Shadowblade. That would be just nasty. And then Blink. At the end of your turn, roll a d20 on 11 or higher, you vanish into the ethereal plane. Pretty good, especially if you're going to be up in combat. Putting that down, 10 turns, you could be back and forth between the two planes. Not a bad way to, be. All right, real quick caveat here. If you went Pact of the Chain, you will get an extra attack, which is huge for Hexblades. So kind of go with that with the Hexblade too. All right, with the Eldritch Invocations, you have access to a couple new ones. Mire the Mind. You can cast Slow with a Warlock spell slot. Not bad, not bad. And then Sign of Ill Omen. You can cast Bestow Curse with a Warlock spell slot. Both are spells you don't typically get access to, but they are pretty solid spells. I personally think they're not the greatest use of everything. I would go with either Mage Armor, or if you want to go with an Eldritch build, go with that Repelling Blast. All right, level 6 Hexblade Warlock. We got health increase. We have a new feature. We have Accursed Spectre. When you or an ally within 60 feet slay a creature that is afflicted with Hexblade's curse, you can raise an Accursed Spectre that will fight alongside you for a short period of time. What is this? I can't wait to see this. And hey, you get a new spell. All right, so we have Hexblade's Curse and then some darkness here to see what happens with that accursed specter. All right, so it's a reaction to do so. Oh my god. That is amazing. That's so unique. That is one of the most exclusive things I've actually seen on this game in terms of like summons and stuff like that. Oh, that is so sick. All right, we're going to see what this thing can do on its turn. End concentration. Let's do that. In the turn. All right. Oh, it does it automatically. It does. Say what? It just fights alongside you, but it does its own work automatically. Can you move around? No, it's immobile. Okay. Or I guess we can't tell it what to do. Interesting. Oh, that's so cool. But look at that. That is so freaking cool, man. Ah. All right, level 7 Warlock. We have some expanded spells to choose from. Our health increases, and we get another Eldritch Invocation. From these spells, we have Dominate Beast, Greater Invisibility, Phantasmal Killer, and Staggering Smite that aren't typical. The Staggering Smite seems nasty. Possibly stagger your target. It can't take reactions and is more likely to miss, but it does 2d8 plus 4 psychic damage because of our blade, but then does 4d6 additional psychic damage as a bonus action. Eldritch Invocations, we do have a few new ones here. A Book of Ancient Secrets. You can inscribe magical rituals in your Book of Shadows. Gain Ray of Sickness, Chromatic Orb, and Silence spells. You can cast these spells once per long rest, and they don't expend any spell slots. Just like the Tome of Knowledge from our Pact boon. So we can have a bunch of additional spells that are free to use once per long rest. We have Call Lightning, we have Haste, Ray of Sickness, Chromatic Orb, Silence. Those are all great ones to have. Dreadford Word. Words. You can cast Confusion with a Warlock spell slot. I think these are just wasteful. I really do. Out of all the Eldritch Invocations, these are just kind of wasteful because you only get one spell for one versus, hey, 3 spells up here. Yes, they're level 1 spells, but they're still good. And you get one spell, and they're not the most fantastic control spells there are, especially if you use something like Devil Sight inside of Darkness, because you can only concentrate on one thing at a time. And then Sculptor of Flesh, you can cast Polymorph with a Warlock spell slot. Polymorph's great, don't get me wrong, but you're gonna get enough Confusion, Polymorph, just spell scrolls. You'll probably have a ton of them. So I would recommend not going with any of the invocations that just have a singular spell as their kind of caveat. We're gonna go with Armor of Shadows, so you can do Mage Armor at will. All right, level 8. This is a pretty basic Warlock level here. We just have new featses, health increase, and then you get a new spell. I don't believe there are any additional spells from level 8 that you just get additional spell you can do out of the ones already given. You know, let's go with the Hunger of Hadar. It's an exclusive Warlock only spell. Warlock level 9. Let's go. We get health increased, get another passive, another Eldritch Invocation. At this point, there's so many of them. They're wonderful and they're great. You should be killing things with Eldritch Blast. At this point, you have 2 Eldritch Blasts that shots every time you use the cantrip. And they're doing some pretty solid damage, especially if they're adding your Charisma bonus, which might be a 20 at this point. And then you get some new spells. There are some expanded spells in this list specifically. Cone of Cold is a new thing, and Banishing Smite. Can possibly banish your target if they fail their save. Well, there is a caveat though. This targets with 50 hit points or more can't be banished. Interesting. They're only banished for 2 turns, but that's super, super solid. Okay, there are 3 new invocations that we can choose from here. Minions of Chaos. You can cast Conjure Elemental with a Warlock spell slot. This is the only one, I will say, in my opinion, that would be worthy of doing it by itself. Because Conjure Elemental is a fantastic spell, and it'll go up to the highest spell level you can get, which should get you Myrmidons, which are the strongest of the elemental summons. Otherworldly Leap, you can cast Enhanced Leap without expending a spell slot. which is super nice if you want to be jumping everywhere. I do believe enhanced leap lasts for 10 turns. Yeah, it triples your jumping distance, but it does only last for 10 turns. But hey, you can do that however many times as you want. So you can really jump everywhere. And then Whispers of the Grave. You can cast Speak with Dead without expending a spell slot. At this point in the game, you're level 9. You likely either have an item that can give you Speak with Dead for free, or you have lots of scrolls. And you may not even be doing Speak with Dead or want to do Speak with Dead. It's a underrated spell usage, I will say. It's fun, very fun to do it, especially if you mix it with killing things and then you do Disguise Self on yourself, and then you speak with the dead thing after you killed it, and you ask, how'd you die? Oh, this asshole. But we're gonna actually go with Minions of Chaos. I want to see how this scales. Okay, our spells currently are level 5 spells. Okay, so they do increase as the levels go around. With the exception of some of the singular ones we do, like Call Lightning, it's stuck at a level 3. But even our Shadow Blade goes up to level 5. I do believe that's weird. I don't think that's intended. Percent empty. But I don't believe the damage scales. Oh, no, it does. So it does look like the damage actually scales for the Shadow Blade if you recast it. So casting this spell using a 3rd or 4th spell slot will increase the damage by 1d8. And then casting using a 5th or 6th by 2d8. So you can get up to a, 4d8? Which is huge. 4d8 as the base damage, that's psychic damage. There's very few things that are resistant or straight up like immune to psychic damage specifically. But let's check out these summons. All right, looks like they're your base elementals. They don't go until, I believe level 6 is when they change over. So that should, when you hit level 12, we should be able to get the strongest forms of these summons. But really, with that Tome of Knowledge, we have now access to Animate Dead here, so we can get summons. This is free. We can grab Skeleton out of this Imp, right? Cool, we got a Skeleton. Okay, we use a Conjure. Let's get a Earth Elemental because they're cool looking. Bam. All right, very sick. Now, question for you. If we throw down some Darkness, they are blinded. Okay, well, that is sad. Can rebind our Shadow Blade and Hexed Weapon here. So now the base attack here, that 9 to 37, that is wild. So that is the one thing, I guess, that doesn't matter is your charisma for that attack. So let's attack her real quick. Hey, Lizelle, what up? For 30. Right, that 30 here was hit for 30 damage. So no, okay, it does use your charisma modifier. So the attack roll was 19 plus 4 plus 5 proficiency and charisma, but it was 25 from 48 psychic, but you do get your charisma modifier added onto it. I didn't think you did, so that's awesome. Oh, she don't die. Sorry. You're a monster. Okay, level 10 Warlock. Health increase. New cantrip. Armor of Hexes. Exclusive Hexblade feature. When a creature you curse with Hexblade's curse attacks you, potentially nullify the attack as a reaction. This has a 50% chance of succeeding. There's no usages on this. This is whenever you want. Just use a reaction every turn. As long as it has Hexblade's curse on it, it can miss. That's amazing. And then new spell. New cantrip, sure, why not? Let's get friends. All right, then level 11 and 12, I do believe are standard Warlock spells. Level 11 Hexblade, I do believe is a standard Warlock level, same as level 12. So we kind of fizzle out on what we get extra-wise at level 10, but there is a lot of good things still. You get extra Warlock spell slot now, so we have 3 spell slots to do our level 6 spells, which is amazing, and then we get new spells. Now, with all Warlocks at level 11, you get part of the Mystic Arcanum. Select one of your level 6 spells. Once per long rest, you can cast that spell without expending a spell slot. That is absolutely amazing. And guess what? If we create Undead, Circle of Death, also amazing. But create Undead, now we have Elementals. Now we have Animate Undead that we can do for free. Now we have Create Undead we can do for free. Ooh, it's just super solid. And last but not least, we have Warlock level 12. You get new feats available, your health goes up, you gain your last Eldritch Invocation, and a new spell. All right, we get one new last Eldritch Invocation, Life Drinker. Attacks made with your weapon deal additional necrotic damage equal to your charisma modifier. My god. Okay, unfortunately the Conjure Elemental doesn't scale with that. It does stay at level 5. So that is the sad part. It doesn't go up to the Myrmidon level, which is level 6 for that spell. But it's still cool to be able to have one around. Now, create Undead that you can do for free without a spell slot usage. You get a sick undead zombie. A mummy. That's absolutely amazing. This mummy has multi-attack, has dreadful glare, it can jump, it can dash, it has rotting fist, drive your fist into a foe and possibly afflict them with mummy rot for 10 turns. Mummy rot. Your maximum hit points is reduced by 8. You cannot be healed. Oh my god. Oh, I just found my new build. Necromancer kind of Hexblade. That's just disgusting. Now we got a squad here, right? That squad is terrifying. But our normal attacks now, if it has Hexblade Curse on it, and we attack it, 30 damage. Okay. Rolled kind of low. But let's see what it looked like. We did 9 necrotic damage with Life Drinker, and then 21, just 12 plus 5 plus 4 for the damage roll with Hexblade's Curse. You add your proficiency bonus to the damage. So good. So good. 48. Oh my, this build. All right. Final thoughts here. If you can't tell, I've already gushed over it. The Hexblade is so good. Now you can mix Hexblade with Paladin and it'd be super, super killer. I really think because you have kind of options for how you want to build your stats, Hexblade Death Cleric might be a good option too. Hexblade Shadow Magic Sorcerer, very good option. Really, it's a very, very good mix of class features that you can really dip probably 6 levels in. You can split it half and half. Or if you just want to go 4, I think that's totally reasonable too. And still get good amount of usage out of it. Because we have that Shadow Blade pretty early on. So I think that's a pretty good option. I think level 4 is like the minimum you want to stick into it if you do multi-class. But yeah, this is very good work. I'm a big fan of the Hexblade. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Which class out of Patch 8 is your favorite? Please let me know in the comments, and if you want to like and share this video, I would really appreciate it, as I'm just trying to create this channel for you. See you on the next one.